This is session 11. Hello students. Regarding SN2 reaction, in previous session we discussed stereochemistry, in which case we can identify that inversion products and in which case we are not going to get any inversion product. Sometimes we are getting diastereomers, sometimes we are getting meso compound, that depending upon substrate. Now, in this session we are going to discuss what are the factors affecting SN2 reaction. Let us consider the rate law of SN2 reaction. Rate is equal to K into K is constant, proportionality constant here, and concentration of substrate and concentration of nucleophile. Rate of SN2 reaction depending upon both substrate and nucleophile, order with respect to substrate 1 and order with respect to nucleophile also 1. From this rate law it is very clear SN2 reaction mainly depending upon these two. Which two? Substrate and nucleophile. Let us consider first nucleophile. Nature of nucleophile. Which type of nucleophile we want? Obviously strong nucleophile, then more SN2 favors. Strong nucleophile favors more SN2. That is clear. But how could we know that which one is strong nucleophile and which one is weak nucleophile? Let us see why strong nucleophile favors more SN2 and why not weak nucleophile like that. So what is the difference in between these two while perform the reaction? Now CH3O minus, I am saying that is strong nucleophile, CH3OH which is weak nucleophile. So how do we know that? CH3OH oxygen is electron rich and CH3O minus oxygen also electron rich. Both are electron rich. But for CH3O minus positive charge is must and for CH3OH positive charge is option. In other words, CH3OH it is weak acid, alcohols are weak acid. So CH3OH conjugate CH3O minus, since weak acid conjugate is strong base, so strong base generally strong nucleophile. That means strong base, more the basic strength, more the nucleophilicity. I am mentioned that it is general trend, not always. Generally strong the nucleophile, more the basic strength, or vice versa. Now here nature of nucleophile CH3O minus, CH3OH. When we compare these two, CH3O minus I am going to say strong nucleophile and this one is weak nucleophile, CH3OH is weak nucleophile. Being a strong nucleophile, here reaction performs more. Here CH3OH being a weak nucleophile, here reaction performs less. If we observe the reaction, in both cases methyl iodide only substrate. For same substrate, I am considering here CH3O minus. As usual, CH3O minus approaches rare side with respect to departing I. Leaving group is I. Being a departing group, it bears partial negative charge and this carbon bears partial positive charge. Now we are going to say this carbon is electrophilic carbon. Being electrophilic carbon, here positive charge developed. That's why it attracts a negative charge. And moreover, this negative charge also, take it granted, means it can go because of positive charge is there, it welcomes that negative charge. That's why this negative charge can freely goes to the positively charged carbon or electrophilic carbon. So it has more axis. What I am going to say, it has more axis. Resultant we are getting again pentavalent transition state and from that I completely departed as I minus and we are getting product like this. For this reaction previously we learned how reaction proceeds, means graph we discussed like this. So this is reactants energy and this is products energy and this what we call transition state and this is what we call activation energy. Now what I am saying here, when CH3O minus has more axis to approach that electrophilic carbon, obviously the energy required to overcome this transition state is obviously less. That's why I am going to say here lower activation energy. This reaction, both reactions proceeds via transition state. It looks like same. But this transition state lower activation energy. Lower activation energy means the energy what we need to provide to the reactant molecules to overcome that peak or to convert into products. So how much energy we have to provide here? By giving less energy, because of activation energy is less. Why activation energy is less? Approaching nucleophile has more access towards electrophilic carbon, and we are getting that product ether. Now let's come to methyl alcohol case. In case of methyl alcohol, same iodine, because of it is departing by taking electrons, iodine acquires partial negative charge and carbon acquires partial positive charge. In both cases substrate is same. But here approaching a nucleophile is a methyl alcohol, which is a neutral, which do not have any charge. It is a neutral. Being a neutral one, it has less access to approach towards electrophilic carbon. Less access. Here it has more access because of negative charge. Being a negative charge, this positive charge strongly attracts. Here there is no negative charge. Of course, it is also electron rich. It can go, but its access is less. Resultant, the energy which we have to provide to overcome the activation, to overcome the transition state, this one is higher activation energy compared to this one. Here we need to provide more energy. In such a case, what happened here? CH3OH itself, it attacks upon electrophilic carbon. Ultimately, this oxygen is going to bear positive charge. And so far here, what I said, accessibility of methyl alcohol towards electrophilic carbon is less. And later, what I am saying here, CH3O plus H, and here iodine departing as I minus. But if you observe in previous transition state, here iodine is electron negative, means more electron rich, and O also bears negative charge. Both are bearing negative charge, but here I bears partial negative charge, but this oxygen bears partial positive charge. So this is also one of the major factor. And from here, if iodine completely departed, oxygen bears complete positive charge. And later one more step is there. Here OH bond has to break, it comes out H plus, and we are getting the same product. Hope you understand what is the difference between a strong nucleophile and a weak nucleophile. Strong nucleophile has a more accessibility towards electrophilic carbon compared to weak nucleophile. Okay, fine. Strong nucleophile gives more SN2 product, whereas weak nucleophile less favors towards SN2 reaction. Now only strength of nucleophile or concentration? Obviously concentration also, because in rate law we mentioned that rate is equal to K into concentration of substrate and concentration of nucleophile. More the concentration of nucleophile means if you double the concentration of nucleophile by keeping substrate concentration as such, then obviously rate doubles. That means with increase in concentration of nucleophile, SN2 reaction more favors, and with increase in concentration of substrate also SN2 favors more. Here with increase in strength of the nucleophile also more SN2. That means with respect to nature of nucleophile, both strength and concentration of nucleophile matters. Not only strength of nucleophile, but also concentration of nucleophile matters. Here both we need to consider. So far we discussed that concentration, if you increase the concentration, obviously rate increases, that is clear. And strength, in terms of strength, CH3O minus strong nucleophile, that's why it proceeds via lower activation energy, means transition state energy is less, whereas CH3OH weak nucleophile, it proceeds via high activation energy compared to strong nucleophile. Now strong nucleophile, what are strong nucleophiles, what are weak nucleophiles? So strong list of strong nucleophiles you observe: triethylphosphine, SH minus, I minus, diethylamine, CN minus, OH minus, OCH3 minus. If you observe, all these are good bases. And moderate nucleophiles, if you observe, Br minus, NH3 minus, dimethyl sulfide, CH3SCH3 and Cl minus. And weak nucleophiles are CH3COO minus, F minus, H2O, CH3OH. Fine. Sir, you mentioned that HI is strong acid. Strong acid conjugate is weak base. As per the principle what you mentioned earlier, basic strength is directly proportional to nucleophilicity. If it is so, I minus weak base, then obviously it should be weak nucleophile. But you are saying that strong nucleophile. And CH3COOH acetic acid, which is weak acid, this weak acid conjugate is a strong base. So being a strong base, it should be strong nucleophile. But you put in weak nucleophile list, even not in a moderate. Why? As I mentioned that this is a general trend, not always. This is a general trend. So generally basic strength is proportional to nucleophilicity, but this is not as take it granted. There are so many other factors that also we should learn. Let us have a look here. Strong base, first of all, what is the difference between basicity and nucleophilicity? What are the qualifications to become a base and to become a nucleophile? Both looks like same, but the qualifications what required for these two terms are not same. One is thermodynamic parameter, another one is kinetic parameter. Let us have a look here. Strong base, which is nothing but which produces greater amount of neutralization, more amount of neutralization product we need, but not a matter how fast it is, how fast the reaction, kinetics is not matter here. How fast the reaction proceeds is not matter, but what we need here, which produces greater amount of neutralization product at equilibrium. So you are considering that strong base means you need to consider equilibrium. At equilibrium, what amount of neutralization product you are getting being base. It seeks proton, it needs proton, it prefers to abstract a proton. That's why I mentioned that a neutralization product. Whereas in case of strong nucleophile, so being a strong nucleophile, the one which reacts with a faster rate, but no matter what quantity of product you are going to get, that's not a matter. The one which has tendency to react fast. So one which reacts with faster rate, no matter how much products are formed at equilibrium. So this one kinetics parameter means a strong nucleophile. Nucleophilicity is a kinetics parameter and basicity is a thermodynamic parameter. These two are not same, and these two are looks like same but not same, and these two are not always proportional. Generally we are going to say basic strength is proportional to nucleophilic strength, but need not be true always this one. Now trends in nucleophilic strength, and how can you say which one is a strong nucleophile, which one is a weak nucleophile? As we mentioned that this is thermodynamic and this is kinetic, these words are big, but how can we remember that? Simple. Base seeks always a proton, it wants only proton but not any positive charge. But nucleophile seeks any positive charge except proton, any positive charge except proton. In other words, being a base, it abstracts proton only. If there is no proton, obviously it prefers to act as a nucleophile. But being a nucleophile, even though you are going to provide proton, it won't accept. It seeks only any positive charge except a proton, but base needs any proton except any positive charge. It don't want any positive charge, it needs only proton. Whereas nucleophile. So if you observe trends in nucleophilic strength means which one is a strong nucleophile, which one is weak nucleophile. Similarly, which one is a strong base but not supposed to say as a strong nucleophile, and which one is weak base but even though it may behave as a strong nucleophile. How to identify that? So for that there are few points. These 4 points, if you remember that, you can identify anything. First one, if a donor atom is same, like both atoms are oxygen, both atoms are nitrogen, like that, if donor atoms are same, so nucleophilicity parallels to basicity, means the nucleophilicity is directly proportional to basicity. More the basicity, more the nucleophilicity. Let us check. Compared to H2O, OH minus is strong base. So being strong base, nucleophilic strength of OH minus is greater than H2O. Basic strength of OH minus also greater than H2O. So HS minus and H2S. So H2S is a somewhat strong acid and its conjugate weak base, but HS minus much more weak acid. When we compare like that, HS minus is strong base than H2S, hence HS minus also strong nucleophile than H2S. Similarly, compared to NH3, NH2 minus is strong base, accepting tendency to accept proton is more for NH2 minus. That's why nucleophilicity also more for NH2 minus than NH3. Similarly, RO minus, HO minus, RCOO minus. So RO minus strong base because alcohols are weak acids. Okay, RO minus strong base. That's why compared to OH minus, here RO minus is greater than OH minus in nucleophilicity. OH minus is more than RCOO minus. Since RCOO minus, it is resonantly stabilized. It is more stable base. It is more stable base, resonantly stabilized. But here you cannot identify any resonance in case of OH minus and OR minus. So if donor atom is same, simply basicity is directly proportional to nucleophilicity. Once again, here compared to H2O, OH minus is more basic. Compared to H2S, HS minus more basic. Compared to NH3, NH2 minus is more basic. And compared to these three, alcohols, water and carboxylic acid. Alcohols, water and carboxylic acid. If you compare these three, carboxylic acids are strong acids. That's why its conjugate is weak base. And water compared to carboxylic acid, water is weak acid. So CH3COOH or RCOOH if you consider. Another one is water, another one is alcohol. So this one is more acidic conjugate is less basic. And this one is least acidic conjugate is strong base. Being strong base OR minus, it is strong nucleophile. And RCOO minus, it is a conjugate of weak acid, hence it is a strong base compared to remaining one. But here these two are not acids now. That's why compared to these two, carboxylic acid is strong acid. I'm going to say one more time. Carboxylic acids in general weak acids, that's fine. But here when we are comparing with H2O and ROH, which one is more acidic? So this line is smaller one, but compared to this one is bigger one. Just like that, carboxylic acids are weak acids, but compared to these two, carboxylic acid is strong acid. So strong acid conjugate obviously weak base. That's why nucleophilicity is less. And compared to carboxylic acid, alcohols are less acidic. That's why alkoxide ion is more basic. That's why more nucleophilic. This is regarding first point. Let's come to the second one. If donor atom is same and belongs to same family, what do you mean by same family? Same functional group. Donor atom is same and also belongs to same functional group. In such a case, basicity does not parallel to nucleophilicity. Both nucleophilicity and basicity both are not parallel, means not proportional to each other. Basicity does not parallel to nucleophilicity. So what happened like that? Let us consider two alcohols. One is methyl alcohol or ethyl alcohol. One you have to consider. Another one is tertiary butyl alcohol. So out of methyl alcohol and tertiary butyl alcohol is strong acid. Whenever this basically alcohols are not acids, but they are having acidic nature. So compared to these two, means methyl alcohol and tertiary butyl alcohol, acidic nature of methyl alcohol is more. Because after losing proton O minus, this O minus here less repelled because of only one CH3. In this case, after losing proton O minus, we are getting that O minus has more repulsion because of presence of three alkyl groups. So here tertiary butoxide and methoxide being weak acid, its conjugate is a strong base, and being strong acid, its conjugate is a weak base. So it is a strong base, it is weak base. It is very clear, basicity order tertiary butoxide is greater than methoxide. But nucleophilicity if you observe, nucleophilicity of methoxide ion is greater than tertiary butoxide. So methoxide is greater than tertiary butoxide. Why like that, sir? You only mentioned that tertiary butyl alcohol is weak acid. Since it is weak acid, means acidic nature is less. That's why its conjugate must be strong base. Accepted that is strong base. So why even though it is a strong base? You are not saying that it is strong nucleophile. Why you are showing partiality? Here you mentioned, you explained the same thing. Because of strong base, strong nucleophile you explained here in this point. But when you come to the second point, you are saying that contrary. And you are saying that even though tertiary beta oxide is a strong base, you are saying that no, it is not a strong nucleophile. It's a nucleophilicity less, and moreover, methoxide ion is a strong nucleophile, even though its basic nature is less. So you are making contrary statements here. Yes, because in order to behave as a base, hindrance is not a criteria. You are not supposed to consider steric hindrance. So steric hindrance has less effect on basicity, whereas nucleophilicity means that nucleophile has to approach and attack upon electrophilic carbon. So for that accessibility is less because of more bulkiness. Since 3 alkyl groups, it is more bulky. Being more bulky, it cannot approach to the electrophilic carbon. Hence, it cannot behave as a strong nucleophile, even though it is a strong base. It's simply this one has less accessibility to attack upon electrophilic carbon, whereas methoxide, due to small size, because of small size, even though it is weak base, it acts as a strong nucleophile. It can easily it has more accessibility. It can easily attack because of hindrance is less. That's why even though strong base tertiary beta oxide, weak base methoxide, but when you compare, when it comes to nucleophilicity strength, methoxide ion has a strong nucleophile, not a strong nucleophilic strength than tertiary beta oxide. Let's come to third point. If donor atoms are from same period, either you need to consider all are second period or third period, like that. When donor atoms are from same period, basicity is parallel to nucleophilicity. So because why basicity is parallel to nucleophilicity? Because of left to right, when we are moving, metallic nature changes to non-metallic nature, means electronegativity increases. Because of electronegativity increases, its ability to donate its lone pair of electron to partially positively charged carbon obviously decreases. That means here we have to say decreases from left to right. I am repeating, when donor atoms are from same period, basicity is parallel to nucleophilicity. Decreases from left to right. Let us check. Nucleophilicity of H2O is less than NH3, because in H2O donor atom is oxygen and in NH3 donor atom is nitrogen. So H2O is less than NH3, means compared to that OH minus and NH2 minus. In OH minus and NH2 minus, again donor atoms are oxygen and nitrogen. Here, being oxygen is more electronegative, its ability to donate lone pair of electron relatively less compared to the nitrogen atom. Similarly, triethyl phosphine and diethyl sulfide, if you consider triethyl phosphine, diethyl sulfide. So phosphorus less electronegative, that's why it has more nucleophilicity. Let's come to fourth point. If donor atoms are from same group, earlier we discussed the same period. Now we are discussing if donor atoms are from same group, then nucleophilicity increases down the group due to more polarizability. We will discuss regarding this word polarizability. So simply, if donor atoms are from same group, then down the group what happened? Nucleophilicity increases. Why down the group nucleophilicity increases? So with increase in size means large the size of atom or ion, whatever it may be, which acts as a nucleophile. More the size, more the polarizability. So what do you mean by polarizability? There are two words. One is polarizing power, another one is polarizability. Polarizing power is for cation and polarizability for anion. Let us assume that because of large size here, so small atom and large atom, these two I am going to compare, small anion, large anion. Small atom, large atom, or small anion or large anion. Because of large anion, its outermost electrons are too far away from nuclei. Hence, if positive charge attracts, then all the negative charge comes to one side and you are getting like this. So within the anion, polarization takes place. So this is what we call polarizability. Polarizability is the property of anions. And cations, polarizing power. When anion size is small, being small size, its outermost electrons are strongly held by its nuclei. That's why even though positive charge is pulling that electrons, that negative charge, its ability to polarize like here, like this is less. So because of large size, more polarizability. In other words, less charge density anion, more polarizable. Less charge density anion, more polarizable. So whenever size increases, that negative charge density decreases, because both small size and large size, both one are having same 1 unit negative charge, but size is more. You can imagine like this: a small ball and a large ball, both are going to paint with only 1 gram paint. Then obviously paint density is more for small ball, whereas less for large ball. Just the same concept here. So small size, large size. Small size one having a 1 unit negative charge, large size one also having same negative charge. That's why I am saying that here less charge density. Being less charge density, more polarizable. So what's more polarizable? So why you are saying because of more polarizable, it is a strong nucleophile? How can you say that? So whenever polarizability is more, then it is able to form strong bond with electrophilic carbon, because electrophilic carbon right now bears positive charge, it seeks negative charge. And what happened here? It is giving negative charge towards its one and it is maintaining positive charge with itself. So obviously repulsion between these two decreases because of large distance, and at the same time this negative charge can go much close to the positive charge, resultant there will be a formation of strong bond in between a nucleophile, approaching the nucleophile, and electrophilic carbon. Hope you got the point. Simply these 2 points we can write like this: nucleophilicity decreases from left to right as electronegativity increases, nucleophilicity increases from top to bottom as polarizability increases. So factors affecting SN2 reaction. So far we discussed that concentration of nucleophile, if increases, rate of SN2 reaction increases. Similarly, strength of nucleophile if increases, rate of SN2 increases. How do you determine which one is a strong nucleophile and which one is a weak nucleophile? Why tertiary butoxide and methoxide case you are expecting contrary statements? All these things we discussed. Now, in rate law of SN2, there are 2 things. One is nucleophile concentration of nucleophile. Another one is concentration of substrate. So far we discussed regarding nucleophile. Now we are entering into the substrate. Regarding substrate mainly consists 2 parts. One is leaving group, another one is remaining alkyl group. So how these 2 are going to play a role to influence the SN2 reaction, let us see. Let us first discuss leaving group effect. Leaving group must and should be good leaving group. If the leaving group is good, it makes that it containing carbon is more electrophilic. If it makes that carbon, halogen containing carbon or leaving group containing carbon is more electrophilic, then obviously nucleophile has more access to attack upon this carbon, electrophilic carbon, right? So in order to make this carbon more electrophilic, leaving group must be more electronegative. Means it has to polarize leaving group containing carbon by pulling that sigma bond electrons towards itself. By pulling that sigma bond electrons towards itself, this leaving group acquires partial negative charge and carbon acquires partial positive charge. It must and should be stable once left. When it comes out from the carbon, that has to stabilize. As in previous session we discussed, HI is a strong acid and I minus can sustain without H plus. Even though there is no H plus, nothing happens to I minus. This I minus can be stabilized. So just like that, once the leaving group departed, it has to stabilize, but it is not supposed to think about a proton just like a base. So what happened? If it is a strong base, then again it want to get back its proton. It cannot stabilize as a negatively charged ion. But a good leaving group is not supposed to behave like that. Being a good leaving group, first of all, it has to polarize by withdrawing electrons, by electron withdrawing to polarize carbon. And second one, stabilize once it left. It should not behave like a strong base, but you don't expect any proton. It has to come out, it has to stay there. And polarizable to stabilize transition state. What do you mean by polarizable to stabilize transition state? Now let us have a look here in transition state. In transition state case, this leaving group is going to depart attacking nucleophile approaches. This is a nucleophile and leaving group. So as I mentioned that it is going to depart by taking electrons. That's why it gets partial negative charge. It gets partial negative charge. So getting partial negative charge itself polarizable. So whenever it itself polarizable, it can stabilize transition state. It stabilizes a transition state means no need to provide much more energy. No need to provide much more energy. That means what happened here? Polarize to stabilize the transition state means decrease in activation energy. Transition state energy decreases. When transition state energy decreases, the energy what we need to supply, that will be reduces. This is transition state and this is energy of reactants, this is energy of products, right? We discussed earlier. So here this gap or the energy difference in between reactants and transition state decreases when it is easily polarizable. Which one is easily polarizable? Just now we discussed that. If the leaving group is a large group, if the leaving group has charge density, more charge density or less charge density? Less charge density. So less charge density, large size, these two are parameters for easily polarizable. So if the leaving group is easily polarizable, then the leaving group is good leaving group. How good leaving group? How it makes more SN2? If it is easily polarizable, it makes that a transition state energy less. So at very less energy, transition state forms. If it is carbocation, no, I am not going to bother about that carbon. I want to take away my electron. So I am going to depart. Just L as comes out as L minus completely departed. Then what happens in such a case? What happens in such a case? C plus is going to form. Means carbocation has to form. Formation of carbocation, highly endothermic process. We need to supply much energy. Simply, in order to understand, I am going to make one statement. This leaving group want to leave itself by taking electron. How it has to take? Without considering what pain carbon is going to bear, not like that. So it should consider like when nucleophile approaches little distance, it has to go little distance. Again it approaches, again it has to leave. Not once for all, I have to take my electron, not like that. So when nucleophile approaches, then it is slowly pulling that bond pair of electron. That means it is not supposed by behaving it as good leaving group. Here we cannot expect any positive charge upon this carbon. There is no positive charge. Understand? So without forming any positive charge, or whenever it pulls electron, bond pair of electron towards itself, whatever the positive charge, partial positive charge developed here, it has to give a chance to compensate the nucleophile. This nucleophile has to compensate the positive charge, and again it can pull bond pair of electrons, again positive charge developed. Again, nucleophile will compensate that. This scenario helps a lot. That means without providing much more energy here, simply it can achieve transition state. That's why what I'm saying, polarizable to stabilize the transition state, and by doing like that, what happened? Decrease in activation energy and minimum transition state energy. Decrease in activation energy, which leads further minimum transition state energy. So if you consider F minus is poor nucleophile and also poor leaving group, leaving tendency is less. It won't leave. If it left now, again it want to attack immediately. We cannot expect like that. It's a nucleophilicity also less. Poor nucleophile, poor leaving tendency. Next, with respect to substrate, one part is a leaving group, second part is remaining alkyl group. So with respect to remaining alkyl group, if you consider rate of SN2 reaction, methyl halides is more than primary, than secondary, than tertiary. Because of it increase in number of alkyl groups, steric hindrance increases. With increase in steric hindrance, a nucleophile cannot approach. Approaching tendency of nucleophile decreases, because in case of tertiary what happened? That leaving group containing carbon is attached to if all the three groups say all bulky alkyl groups, say R, R dash, R double dash, like that. In such a case, being these are alkyl groups are electron rich, alkyl groups are electron rich, electron releasing groups already we learned. So being electron rich, it do not allow one more electron rich species to attack upon electrophilic carbon, positively charged carbon. In such a case, nucleophilic attacking is very less. That's why more the bulkiness, less the nucleophilic attack. That's why methyl is greater than primary, greater than secondary, greater than tertiary. So what do we say? With increasing size of alkyl groups at alpha carbon means halogen containing carbon, SN2 decreases. SN2 decreases. Rate of attack of nucleophile is directly proportional to affinity of carbon towards negative charge. So more the affinity towards negative charge, whatever the positive charge developed here, if that will be compensated by the alkyl groups which attach to alpha carbon. As we learned that alkyl groups are electron releasing and plus I groups. So being the plus I groups, they are also releasing electrons towards that positive charge carbon. When a nucleophile is trying to attack upon this carbon, these alkyl groups are going to ask, hey, nucleophile, where you are going? So I want to go and attack upon positive charge carbon. No need, go away. We will take care of that positive charge because we are also electron releasing. So what happened here? We do not allow to attack upon electrophilic carbon. In such a case, SN2 reaction do not take place. So rate of attack of nucleophile is directly proportional to affinity of carbon towards a negative charge. More the affinity towards negative charge. When that carbon electrophilic. So neopentyl bromide and tertiary butyl bromide. What we are expecting SN2 rates? So neopentyl bromide, this one, here it is primary alkyl halide, and tertiary butyl bromide like this, which is tertiary. So just now we discussed that SN2 reaction rate is more in case of primary and less in case of tertiary. From this order it is very clear. Then what we are expecting? In case of tertiary butyl bromide, SN2 reactions are much more than tertiary butyl bromide. In case of neopentyl bromide, SN2 reactions are much more than tertiary butyl bromide. If it is so, if you observe the experimental results, we are getting the result, both SN2 reactions are nearly same. There is no huge difference here in between these two SN2 reactions. So why like that? If you observe here, even though this carbon is alpha carbon and this carbon beta and this carbon is gamma, here alpha carbon. Here alpha carbon only sterically hindered. Because of alpha carbon sterically hindered, just now what we learned in this case, they do not allow nucleophile to attack upon electrophilic carbon. They do not allow because of steric hindrance. But what we are expecting, here alpha carbon is not that much hindered now. And this is the primary also. You only mentioned whatever the number of carbon atoms here. If one alkyl group attached, it is primary. In such a case, you have to consider this one is primary. And a nucleophile can easily approach this carbon? No. Because of bulkiness at beta carbon. Because of bulkiness at beta carbon. Why? So bulkiness at beta carbon. So what happened? See, that approaching a nucleophile has to approach rare side, not in the same side. So rare side, which carbon is there in rare side? Tertiary carbon, which is more bulky carbon. Being tertiary carbon, more bulky carbon, the nucleophile cannot approach through rare side with respect to that leaving group containing carbon. That means if beta carbon is more bulky, it do not allow nucleophile to attack upon electrophilic carbon. So tertiary butyl bromide and neopentyl bromide, both SN2 reactions are nearly same rate. Now, leaving group, you said that good leaving group. You mentioned that bulkiness, more the size, more the leaving tendency. Beyond of that, few familiar leaving groups are there. Let us have a look on that. Triflate ion, trifluoroacetate. Because of 3 fluorine atoms, all these 3 fluorine atoms are strong electron withdrawing groups. Being strong electron withdrawing groups, that is good leaving group. Triflate is good leaving group. Similarly, tosylate, para-toluene benzene sulfonate. Tosylate, simply what we call, instead of CH3, if you write Br, that is called brosylate. If we write NO2, that is called nosylate. All these are good leaving groups. All these are good leaving groups. These leaving groups are more stable and more bulky and also possess electron withdrawing. See, This oxygen is attached to the carbon and this oxygen is attached to C double bond O, which is electron withdrawing, and this carbon again attached to 3 fluorine atoms, which all 3 are electron withdrawing. Similarly, if you consider nosylate here, NO2 will be there. This NO2 is electron withdrawing, and in case of sulfur double bonded with oxygen, both the oxygen atoms also electron withdrawing. So more the number of electron withdrawing groups in the leaving groups, more the leaving tendency, and also this O minus whatever you are getting, that is resonantly stabilized. That's why you don't want to get back, means it not acts as strong base to abstract proton. It itself, it can be stabilized. So whatever the qualifications required, that all qualifications they are going to satisfy. It is stable. You do not need to think about again proton, means it not like acts as base, and it is more bulky, more leaving tendency, more number of electron withdrawing groups are there. All these are favors to leave away. That's why in any reaction, if you want to replace that OH group, then if you want to replace OH group, then we need to consider reaction with tosyl chloride. Say bulky group ROH is there. As we discussed that OH group is poor leaving group. You don't want to leave. Now this one upon reaction with tosyl chloride. Tosyl chloride is Cl, S double bond O, CH3, HCl will leave away, ROS double bond O. See, in this case, whenever you make this group is good leaving group, bulky group, then it has more tendency to leave. As OH group, it do not leave. Now, as a big group and also strong electron withdrawing group, you make that group more bulky, you make that strong electron withdrawing. Hence, this one is now good leaving tendency. This one it can easily participate in nucleophilic substitution reactions. Now, let us consider one of the major factor, that is the solvent. There are 3 types of solvent we are going to discuss. One is polar solvents like water, ammonia, which are able to form hydrogen bond. They are having dipole moment, here hydrogen base positive charge, oxygen base partial negative charge. In ammonia or NH also, hydrogen base partial positive charge, nitrogen base partial negative charge. So dipole moment is there obviously. Non-polar solvents means like alkanes, carbon tetrachloride. Alkanes you can consider hexane, pentane, any solvent. Similarly, polar aprotic solvents means these are polar but which do not possess any proton. There are 3 types of solvents. Polar aprotic solvent like DMF, DMSO, acetonitrile, and crown ethers. These are crown ethers. See here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So this is one is a 18 member one, of which 6 positions occupied by oxygen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 positions. Its name is 18 crown ether 6. 18 crown 6. These also efficient solvent for SN2 reaction. Now, which solvent is more preferable for which one? Have a look. First, polar aprotic solvents are fine, good. But problem is, since they are having a proton, if the nucleophile, obviously we discussed that nucleophilicity and basicity both are parallel in so many cases. So, if a nucleophile prefer to act as base, obviously it is going to abstract the proton from that solvent, then completely reaction will be diverted. Means the product what we are expecting, you are not supposed to get such type of product. Instead of that, you are getting different products. So polar aprotic solvent, even though these are more favorable because of reaction in case of transition state also in between leaving group and electrophilic carbon, here partial positive charge, partial negative charge, means dipole moments are there. We need polar solvents only here, and when we are using this reaction, we are expecting good, but problem arises with a nucleophile. So being a nucleophile, strong nucleophile, it also acts as strong base. It can abstract proton. When it may abstract the proton, that nucleophile strength and decrease, means it becomes to neutral. For example, CH3O minus we are using. That CH3O minus abstract proton from water and converts into CH3OH. You are getting different reaction. So polar protic solvents, even though polar solvents are favorable, but because of proton that makes unfavorable. Now then better to use non-polar, is it so? So non-polar solvents are not that much familiar, because here this reaction proceeds via formation of dipoles, like leaving group acquires negative charge and electrophilic carbon bears positive charge. That's why non-polar solvents are not purely non-polar solvents are here suggestible. But here there is one problem. Alkyl halides basically non-polar or less polar. They preferably dissolve in non-polar solvents. Remember that point. And a nucleophile, whatever we are using, NaC and NaOH, these are all preferably soluble in protic solvents or polar solvents. So nucleophile, attacking nucleophile prefers to dissolve in polar solvents, and alkyl halide prefer to dissolve in non-polar solvents. That's why always nucleophilic substitution reactions we are using solvent as aqueous alcoholic, because as we discussed in previous session also, alcohol and water, these two are going to match and in any proportions, and when we are using alkyl halide and some cyanide, sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide, anyone, so this salt also going to dissolve in that, and alkyl halides also can soluble, means for both substrate and attacking a nucleophile, it can give a common platform, both can dissolve in that solvent. Further, it makes reaction more and more favors. That's why strictly here polar solvent is required, but in polar solvents alkyl halides are insoluble. Which solvent you are going to accept? Now polar aprotic solvents are far better. The best example for polar aprotic solvents are acetone and dimethyl formamide, dimethyl sulfoxide, acetonitrile, all these are. So not only these are good solvents for dissolving both substrates like alkyl halide and also nucleophile, but these solvents are going to do a magic, and which enhances the nucleophilicity of a nucleophile. So let us see here what's going on when we are going to dissolve both nucleophile and substrate in these solvents. Here N-dimethyl formamide, methyl group is electron rich, so we can say electron rich means negatively charged, and C double bond O, pi electrons are shifted towards more electronegative oxygen. Right now carbon bears only positive charge. So the positive charge one, the positive charge carbon at the center, and this positive charge carbon center surrounded completely by negative charge. Let us come to dimethyl sulfoxide. Here pi electrons are shifted towards oxygen, and methyl group also electron rich. Here also same scenario, positive charge at center and electron rich groups are surrounded. And in crown ethers also there is no electron rich group, but all these oxygens are oxygen containing both lone pair of electrons are projected towards common point. So these are the more beneficial points to give more SN to product. Let us see what happened here. When we are using nucleophile, say NaCN, or any one positive charge A plus, one negative charge B minus. We need B minus, means negatively charged species only we need. That means nucleophiles we need, nucleophile concentration we need. So what happened when we are going to place in polar protic solvent like ammonia and water? So this B minus will be solvated, means water molecules, solvated by water molecule, that means solvent molecules. As we know that in water molecule hydrogen bears partial positive charge and oxygen bears partial negative charge. Around this B minus, all that positive charges of water molecule hydrogens are surrounded like this. This is what we call the solvation. By doing like this, if you observe clearly, the intention towards a positive charge for this negatively charged species reduces. Means the ability to attack upon positive charge, its ultimate duty functioning is it has to go and attack upon carbon which bears partial positive charge, that what we call electrophilic carbon, when leaving group is departing. When leaving group is departing as partial negative charge with partial negative charge, the same quantity of partial positive charge developed upon this leaving group containing carbon, that would be called electrophilic carbon. This B minus we are expecting to attack upon this positive charge. But what happened when we are using polar solvents? This B minus is solvated completely and its affinity towards positive charge decreases. That's why polar solvents are not suggestible here. So what happened? One, I'm expecting that better to use DMF, DMSO, crown ethers like that. So what happened? See, A plus and B minus, even though these are completely ionized, there will be a small interaction between A plus and B minus because of that. What force we called electrostatic force of attraction? Being two oppositely charged ions, electrostatic force of attraction we are not going to prevent. Obviously they are existing. But when we are using these solvents, DMF, DMSO and crown ethers, so magically what happened? They are going to separate cations. Simply we can say cations only solvated. Only cations, positive part is solvated by negative terminal because all these negative terminals are projected towards surface and that negative terminals are going to surround around this cation. Whenever you are removing all the cations, the solution completely free of only anions. There is no more positive charge. All the positively charged ions are surrounded by solvent molecules. So just like this, if you observe with chrome ether, 18 chrome 6. So positive part is at the center, like K plus or Na plus. All the 6 oxygen atoms are surrounding around this K plus. Now, means here these are not going to give any electrons, but these are projecting towards positive charge. Simply that cation was present. Similarly, you can expect the same thing in case of anion dimethyl formamide. Here also the cation will be present. Here also dimethyl sulfoxide, because the positive charge is located at the center. These positively charged ions cannot solvate any negatively charged ions like nucleophiles. Instead of that, only positively charged ions are surrounded by solvent. That what we call cations only goes to solvation. Anions are not solvated. If anions are not solvated, then nucleophilicity is not going to reduce. That what we are expecting in case of polar solvents. The same thing not happens here in this case, polar aprotic solvents. So nucleophilicity of nucleophile enhances. Further, there is no alternate for B minus. It has to go to the electrophilic carbon, which makes more facilitate to SN2 reaction. This is the effect of solvent.